At 31 years old, this guy is acting like these people are wasting his time, when really he is wasting theirs.
Sir, good afternoon in the Nisqually Jail. What is your name, please?
Or
The kind of behavior this guy displays can be funny in the movies when you know the character, but in real life it is annoying, frustrating, and childish.
I believe this may be Reginald Ford, who was booked in as John Doe.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Sir, your true name is Reginald Ford. Sir, can you hear me?
no, it was Ford.
Okay. What is your date of birth?
In 1394.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
In 1394.
Okay.
It's now time for this grown man to go down for his pretend nappy time.
All right. So your true name is Reginald Dwayne Ford. Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Your date of birth is October 13th, 1994.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir. And it appears that you are before the court for arraignment under case number 25L000488. City of Lakewood has charged you by way of criminal complaint with making a false or misleading statement to a public servant. Ms. Capone, are you prepared to proceed with Mr. Ford's arraignment at this time?
Your Honor, Mr. Ford and I spoke briefly, but didn't get through all of his rights. So if he would like the opportunity to speak with me again, I'm happy to entertain a breakout room, but I don't know that we're ready to proceed on arraignment.
All right. Mr. Ford, would you like an opportunity to speak with your attorney before going forward with your arraignment?
Sure.
Was that a yes?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and put you in a breakout room. You may need to ask the officer to assist you in getting into that breakout room so that you can speak privately with Ms. Capone.
Never mind.
You don't want to speak with your attorney?
No.
All right. So Ms. Capone, you want to go ahead and proceed with your arraignment?
Well, Your Honor, because I didn't have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Ford about all of his rights, I can't test or say that he understands them, but we have received a copy of the complaint. We'll waive a formal reading, and I wouldn't be contesting probable cause for today's purposes. Again, without having gone through his rights, I don't know that I can say without his approval that we enter a not guilty plea, but that would be my request as an attorney. If the court would like to advise him on his rights, then I would have no objection to that.
Thank you. So, yeah, we're going to need to do an advice of rights. So, Mr. Ford, as somebody...
So the judge reads him his rights while he maintains his little attitude of, whatever, who cares? Is this over yet?
Indicate that for the record, all of these rights have been provided to Mr. Ford on the record. At this point in time, the court is going to enter a plea of not guilty for Mr. Ford. The court will waive formal reading of the charge, charging or the criminal complaint charging with one count of making a false or misleading statement to a public servant. The court will turn to Mr. Graham regarding a factual basis to support the charge.
Yes, Your Honor. Let me pull up my March 2nd, 2025 at approximately 14:15 hours. An individual known as referenced as John Doe was contacted at 15,004 Union Avenue Southwest, the McDonald's, after the store manager called police to report he was harassing customers. John Doe provided officers with a name and date of birth, did not return to any record. John Doe then provided a second date of birth and seemed to be confused about his age when asked. John Doe was taken into custody for providing false statements to a public servant without incident. During a search incident to arrest John Doe was found to be in possession of a used glass pipe commonly used to ingest illegal narcotics. John Doe was transported to Nisqually jail and booked, but has not yet been identified. That was as of the officer's report. The name he gave, I was going to verify, was Isaiah Washington.
And
As
how,
of,
go ahead.
I personally contacted, Your Honor, so I'm speaking from personal knowledge. I personally contacted Nisqually Jail to find out if they had identified John Doe, and they identified him as Reginald Ford with the date of birth of 10/13/94. I don't have anything beyond that. As I've informed the officer as of this morning that he has been identified for them to complete the full investigation and make certain that the individual who is somewhat in front of the court is the individual involved in this case, so on and so forth. But that's as far as I've been able to get with it thus far this morning, Your Honor.
Okay. Based upon that, the court will find that there is probable cause to support the charge of making a false or misleading statement to a public servant, and will find based on that record that the individual that was booked in as a John Doe by the arresting officers appears to be the individual who is present in court virtually from the Nisqually jail. It has subsequently been identified as Reginald Dwayne Ford. Does the city wish to be heard regarding pretrial conditions of release?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, making the assumption that he is Reginald Ford, I did pull his criminal history. I see a number of prior cases with warrant activity, all within the last, well, I would say within the last 10 years or so. He is currently pending 2 counts of assault third out of Snohomish Superior as well. Your Honor, the concern the city has is that Mr. Ford would be unlikely to return if released by this court, noting especially that he gave a false name to perhaps avoid police involvement or police identification. So we would ask that he be held at this time on $2,500 with no law violations.
Ms. Capone?
Your Honor, I'll start with asking that the court appoint counsel from my office going forward. I'd ask that Mr. Ford be released on his own recognizance today, as these are nonviolent offenses before the court, just allegations, and Mr. Ford is entitled to the presumption of innocence on those. Thank you.
Did we just lose the Nisqually jail? I'm sorry. Nope, now it's back. And in the Nisqually jail, if we could get the camera turned back, thank you. All right, so court has reviewed the criminal history for Mr. Ford. The court does note that Mr. Ford did identify himself for the record by name and date of birth at the beginning of this hearing, although it was difficult to understand him at times. Court is going to appoint Ms. Capone's law firm based upon that record to represent Mr. Ford as his attorney of record in these matters. The court is not at all confident in the likelihood of Mr. Ford appearing for future hearings in this matter, based on the review of his criminal history, as well as based on, frankly, some of his conduct today. The court is going to impose bail as requested by the city. The court will impose bail in the amount of $2,500, cash or bond. Let me.
This judge is so patient. If it were me, I would be telling this guy to sit up straight and engage with his hearing.
Court will also note that the city will need to file an amended complaint listing out Mr. Ford's true name at their earliest convenience. Other conditions that the court will impose: Mr. Ford must appear on time for all scheduled court hearings, have no criminal law violations, update the court of any change of address, use only his true legal name and date of birth. Court will also note an out of custody pretrial conference date. That will be March 27th, 2025 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, in the event that Mr. Ford is able to secure his release. And the court has signed that order. Mr. Ford, that concludes your hearing, sir. You can go ahead and let the officer know that you're done.